So last week, a couple of times I mentioned that I'd gotten a new piece of gear from Soma Laboratories, one of their Cosmos devices. And what would I describe? How would I call the Cosmos? It is nominally a looper, but is more a layer. You can capture sound, and then depending on the different algorithms that I've selected, that sound will move in and out of phase, more or less, closely in and out of phase, or up to 11 or 20 seconds of in and out of phase, sort of creating these mobiles in sound, which is it's like the Kaiser aesthetic in a box. And what I did over the weekend was use the Lyra 8, which actually is also manufactured by Soma Lab. It's one of their synthesizers, and use that to create a couple of short gestures that then I used the Cosmos to create. And you can see here in Logic, very, very simple, again, very typical of my music, is to have long sections of one take music that then I will slice a little bit and then overlay. This track here is almost sounds like a theremin or a string sound from the lyra, and it's a very beautiful, haunting, high-pitched sound that you can really only hear in the beginning and the end of the piece, because this section down here, also from the lyre, is a much more full-bodied, full-throated, churning sound. It's a drone that, in its churning away, generates a really dense and quite beautiful harmonic progression. You'll see in the spectrogram that there's a limited set of identifiable pitches within the broader sound of that lower voice. And this stuff up here is short. I think it's about a minute sections from little staticky sounds that I threw in, and liked it so much that I couldn't not use it here. It does a very nice job of opening and then sort of closing things down. Again, if you followed the music that I create and produce, that idea of sort of elegant little twitchy, staticky sounds, very much part of how I like to write, how I like to listen, and so here it is in Logic. I don't produce any at all. I just dump the tracks in there. So those of you who have lost respect for me because of my childish use of Logic, I don't blame you. So then here's a spectrogram, and I'm going to play and talk. Make sure this is working at the beginning. So just to start off with, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see here the section of the waveform that we're looking at. And this pattern here continues very much for the duration. But look at the beginning here. You can see that there's quite a long bit of silence before it starts. I wish I'd thought about that before I uploaded it to Bandcamp. But then this is the quiet little twitchy nervous sound. And then up here, you can see what you'll hear is that very lovely theremin-like, vocal-like, string-like sound in the patterns. That continues, but is kind of lost in the rich harmonic structure of the, I'm going to call it the full-throated stuff. And if I zoom in on the low voice here, digging in. I want to show how it really is like a 2-3 part or 2-3 pitch set, right? You can zoom. I don't want to zoom in too much on the vertical because it'll fuck everything up. But there are, and that's how I'm playing it. Actually, there's 2 touchpads that I'm using. There are 8 touchpads on the lyre. I'm using 2 of them, and very slowly kind of releasing one and depressing the other in different patterns for the 9 or 10 second section, and then those in turn are overlaid by the Cosmos, and you can see how these shapes shift over time in relationship to themselves. Like these are clearly related frequencies and patterns. But look at the relationship between like this bit here and then sort of these bits here. And here they're overlapped. I know this is a little hard to follow, but you can sort of see how there's identifiable patterns that on 2-3 different levels are getting slowly overlaid, meshed in a little bit with each other. And then over the course of the section, all these different relationships unfold. And some of them quite characteristic, quite easily identifiable. When I say characteristic, I mean that it's a moment that is identifiable. You'll hear it and you'll think, oh, I recognize the transformation that has happened. So let's start in, and I'll just talk through some of this. I won't play the. Okay. All right. A little bit of a faff there. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Very quiet. So we're about to hear one of the first high-pitched sounds. And another one coming up. There it is. Just on the edge of hearing, but a beautiful counterpoint with that sort of twitchy, nervous bit. You can see why I thought of the title, right? From even dust. Even from dust. Starting to pick up a little bit. There's that slightly lower sound. Okay, so you can see on the spectrogram that static's going to get a little bit louder. And then it's going to pick into, or switch into the that full-throated drone sound. Start of it. You can hear how the start of what's going to become the drone is related to the high-pitched sound. It's the same instrument, it's just a much lower register. and then I treat it very differently. Oh, it gives me chills. Nice. Drill in a bit, and then you can start to see pitches that are involved. Right. Now, if I jump to the middle, end. So this is now, you can see 15, 20 minutes in. Now you're missing out on the voyage, that sort of unfolding. But I want to play the end here, because how to end something like this is always interesting, right? Do you stop it, just kind of cut? Or do I figure out a way to unravel it? And in this case, I try to figure out a way to unravel and then return to the texture of the beginning. It's a very basic shape. Most of my music only has one. It either has a shape like this, or it has a shape like that. You don't need more than one of those. You can start to see how some of the way that I changed the setting just a little bit, so that the repetitions of the layers started to unpercolate. Right up to that point, I'd kept a very consistent treatment as it fed through it, and then I backed it off so that I could get this effect here. So now you can hear the breaking of a wave of the low sound, woo, but it's mixing in with some of the static that we heard at the beginning. And in this case, for the static, I didn't allow it to overload like it did at the beginning when it introduced it. I don't want that at the end here. So it's quite a lengthy tail. You can see it goes on for a couple of minutes at this very reduced dynamic. So there we have it. Let me know if you liked this music, but let me also know if you like this way of presenting. I am really infatuated by the spectrogram. I think it's incredibly useful as a way of talking through, particularly music like this that may not have other attributes of vectors that are easy to cotton on to. You know, there is no recapitulation. There's no melody as such, but there's obviously content that evolves and unfolds. This helps call attention to that, I think. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just confuses the matter. So either way, let me know in the comments, and keep your wits about you.